Everybody, welcome back. Just got back from walking the dogs, and I think that's going to be our secret, the secret sauce here that allows me to get through a session without them singing along, right? I take them for a walk before I record. I tire their little butts out, and then they lay down and sleep. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's knock on wood, got any wood? Let's see if that works today, okay? Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something that is increasingly important. I see a lot in my own practice here in the studio, and that I wanted to spread to those of you who may be thinking about picking up a saxophone, but you're thinking, starting to play sax as an adult is hard. It's harder to learn as an adult. No, you've heard all that crap. You've seen all that stuff in other posts online, and it's not true, okay? Starting to play sax as an adult is not a limitation, and it is not harder to learn sax as an adult than it was when you were a kid. I have a good cross sample of people who have come to the studio and have learned saxophone as adults. Over the past decade, in fact, I've noticed a shift, a distinct shift on my studio roster, more toward adult learners. Why? Kids aren't picking up the horn like they did. I have no idea why. That's a master's thesis for somebody else to write, okay? But the music stores in my neighborhood are all saying, rentals are down. The school programs at the high schools in my neighborhood in this area of Southern California are shrinking. They're getting a little bit smaller. And I think that culturally, we're going through another shift here where music perhaps isn't as important as it was, but I'll get back to that. Maybe 1 in 5 of the kids, the school age kids that will come in and pick up a horn, maybe 1 in 5, maybe less, actually stick with it. Okay, and there are a couple of problems. Like I said, they're anomalies anymore. Their peer group isn't playing the horn. Their peer group and the band classes are, they're shrinking. We're playing music that doesn't really relate to them. The stuff that we've got for them to study is old, and it's not really very relatable because they're doing TikTok. They're doing sophisticated things where there's a higher level of music than the stuff that they're going to hot cross buns and that sort of thing that they're going to get in beginning band class. I have a million theories about why younger people aren't picking it up and staying with it. But they do. They drop out. They find sports more interesting, video gaming, social life, and man's a homework suck up that time. Okay. They lose interest, and that's different from my adult learners. The adult learners tend to come in with a horn, and they show up and they're better organized. Adult learners have resources, including time and structure, and quite often have, because of the virtue of age, developed a deeper self-understanding and have had that much more time in their lives to listen to music, all right? And that's key. Listening to music is so key. I mean, even among the the real hotshot 12 and 15-year-olds that can play, they don't listen to music. That blows my mind. Culturally, music just doesn't seem to be as important as it was to, what are we, the baby boomers? Anyway, those among us who are older attended concerts. We actually went to these big outdoor concerts, and many of us still do now that COVID has lifted a bit. Many of my older adult learners have record collections. They have CD collections, or they can at least name artists that they know. And that speaks to an engagement level that, again, no longer exists even among, like I said, the hot guns in my studio. I'll go to a class and do a master class, like high school or something, and, say, hey, who listens to music here? And they're like, can any of you name a saxophone player here? No, none of them, right? So listening to music is more important than you can possibly imagine. No, and I'm not talking about grabbing your horn and transcribing a Cannonball Adderley solo. If you're say a student of jazz, you don't have to listen to jazz. I just want you to listen to music. You can listen to anything, like country music, polka, thrash metal. I don't care. You can listen to Metallica. I don't care what you listen to. Broadway musicals. Listen to something. Just listen. Listen to music. Put the radio on. Walk away. Get a Spotify channel going. Whatever. I listen to music most days from sunup to sunset, and I try to vary it. I listen to things because I like music. My story, my backstory is I come from a household where records got played, right? Record players were that was the thing. And the parents played everything from, oh my gosh, well, you know what was big when I was a kid? Elvis, right? I grew up in that age. The Beatles came along. We had Broadway shows. There was an era of Broadway shows. I will bet you I can sing every melody in West Side Story. Harry Belafonte, Ray Charles, John Denver, the New Christian Minstrels, Kingston Trio, things like that. Always playing in the house, always spinning. My backstory, I was gifted with an alto sax, one of those con shooting stars at the age of 10. Maybe, yeah, 10. Going to elementary school had a music program. I wanted a clarinet because one of my classmates had a clarinet. I really wanted to play clarinet because he was cool and I was not cool. And by the grace of the gods, my parents said, "No, you're not going to play a clarinet. You're going to play a saxophone." So they scraped together. I grew up in generational poverty, and they scraped together the coin to put this alto sax in my lap. All right. So, went through the fifth grade band class and learned the notes on the horn in band class, playing things like hot cross buns, which are still being played, by the way. And in the sixth grade, by the last year in elementary school, some pals formed a surf rock band. All right, surf rock was big, right? And they needed a saxophone. There were two of us, two alto saxes in the school band at my elementary school. The first kid was better than me, but he couldn't do it. His dad wouldn't let him be in the band. So they asked me to be in the band, and I got to do it. It was and this is what set the hook for me. I joined the band, and because I guess just such a good listener, and I had so much music background from listening to so many songs and things over the years, that it was easy for me to learn music by listening to the guitar players. They had the melody. The guitar players in the band. And I fancy that there were 7 of them. I don't think there were that many, but it seems I remember a lot of guitars and amps. Anyway, I listen to guitar players to this day, and I learn from them. Guy next door, great guitar player, knows everybody, plays with everybody. He'll play something, and I'll learn it from him. He had a Robin Ford thing we were doing the other night. Anyway, I kept that saxophone into high school. And that's where I heard jazz for the first time. There were no jazz records played in my parents' home. They didn't know jazz, wasn't their thing. And it was pretty high level. So I auditioned and I got in, not as a solo chair. They were already filled up, but I got in on 5th reed. Reed 5 is the Barry sax and the bass clarinet. I played Barry sax, and the school owned that Barry sax. And it was, it was a beater, but I played that thing for 3 years. And I'll bet I never changed the reed either. Anyway, I played that thing and learned so much about music, and again, it was a beautiful experience. In college, back to the alto sax, right? Still had the con alto sax, and back to rock bands. I paid for college tuition in part by working at radio stations, and again, by the absolute grace of the gods above. How do you get those jobs? I don't know, but somehow I did. And there I was spinning records at night, going to school by day, and playing the alto sax. Good living, by the way, music broadcasting at that particular time. And I did that for, 15 years. Fast forward now, put me into the, what am I thinking here? Maybe the 80s, late 80s. Rap music, hip hop and rap music is starting to come to pass. And there are, Curtis Blow and the Sugar Hill Gang and bands like that. And of course, we were inspired to, start up and do some rapping. And I worked with a local rap group, 3 rappers that had won some contests. They were pretty good. So we recorded a couple of studio demos. And since I was, I was the made guy, right? I was connected in the radio business. I shopped them to all of my Los Angeles connections. I was working in that market at the time, and I was told to go home. They said, "No, this is just, rap music is a fad. It's never going to happen. It's going to go away." Rap music is a fad. Right. I know what you're thinking. So what happened though is I got pissed off, and I gave the bass player in the band. I gave him all my horns. I said, here, I had tenor saxes, I had alto saxes, I had everything. I said, here, I can't do this anymore. I worked so hard at this. I worked so hard to be so good at this, and I'm not gonna be sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. I want to buy a house someday. So, for the next few decades, I worked many different part-time jobs in music. Ended up as a music journalist and pop culture critic for a pile of magazines and TV stations, and did that for 25, 6, 7 years. Right. Didn't really play a lot of music. In fact, I kind of kept that on the down low because here I'm, the pop culture critic guy, and pretty present at it. I'm still around music 24/7. I mean, I'm hitting every weekend was filled with concerts I had to go to, and quite often I would hit 3 shows a night. I mean, it was a pretty fertile time when I was writing for about music, and I was I completely lost my thought. It just gone. Anyway, a life of music, but I really am not advertising that I play music because I don't want people to oh yeah he's blah blah. No, I made it all about the artist I was interviewing. So, but I did have enough background in music so that I could actually ask good questions, and I think it was a good balance. But I'm not really playing like I want to play, and there was a time when again I didn't even have a horn. So fast forward again to the day in that period of time, the gardener shows up with a saxophone that he found in a refuse bin, silver horn, right? Nickel silver plated horn, and it turns out to be a C melody horn. C melody horn, right? You might not know what that is. Look it up. Very very cool horns. This one had a swan neck like a tenor sax. The thing was maybe 90 years old, and I think my mom saw it and she wanted to turn it into yard art. She was ready to plant something in it. She thought, yeah, make a planter out of it. Well, no, I got it serviced and I started playing again. And that C Mel was a passport to joy. I can't tell you how happy I was, and I understood then the problem with putting my horns away, putting them at the bass player's house, and not playing anymore, not playing them actively, as I was like cutting off a body part or something. The C melody horn restored that. I'm playing, and I knew what to do. Just like all the rest of those of you who are adults and played in your past lives, you know how to get back on the horse and play. You know what to do, all right? Never been happier in my life. The C melody turned into some alto saxes, very cool alto saxes, which once again became Barry saxes, right? Played Barry again for years, and then a tenor sax fell out of the sky. In fact, there it is. Fell out of the sky and landed right there. Okay, no it didn't, but anyway, you get the point. I played tenor for a good 10, 12 years, pro level tenor with bands I could have only dreamed of playing with. And it was the right time and the right place and the right thing to do, all right? I got my, there's just this absolute sense of joy. I love music. I love to play the saxophone. And I can't believe I denied myself that pleasure for years. So anyway, you can do this too, right? All you have to do is get a horn, right? And then put in the time and turn off that voice that keeps telling you that you should have started when you were a kid, or you should never have played, you should have gone, blah, 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 blah. That's the voice of resistance. And we'll talk about that another time. But I want you to get back, and I want you to have that same feeling of joy, that beautiful, wonderful joy that I got to experience. If I can do it, Lord knows all of you can do it, okay? All right, questions? DaveGoodSax@gmail.com. DaveGoodSax@gmail.com. All right? Get on the horse and ride. Get on the bike and ride. Get on the horse. I don't know, whichever analogy you want to use. Metaphor, analogy, I don't know. Used to be an English major too. I forgot all that stuff. Have a great day. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week.